Next up, we're going to have our third keynote, which is Andy Wines from Camera Crew Responsible Junk Removal. And he's going to bring us home with our last keynotes.
I live 2 miles from Trash Mountain. That's the name of the Orchard Ridge recycling facility and landfill that I grew up going to. People in my county, in my city, in my area, the 4 counties all dispose of material at Trash Mountain. When I tell people that I'm in the waste and recycling industry, all they know of is Trash Mountain, 2 miles from my house. The leachate from Trash Mountain ends up in our water table and goes right to my well. So to say this is personal is an understatement. I also live less than 1 mile from one of the top 30 MRFs in the entire country. A MRF, a materials recovery facility. Of course, we all know what that is, right? Now, the average consumer does not know that. I was fortunate. I was fortunate to grow up as a 4th-generation entrepreneur. My great-grandfather had a scrap and salvage business going back to the early 30s in the height of the Great Depression, and he had that business until his death in '59. I grew up on a farm in the summer with my grandparents where we kept every single piece of twine. Every link of chain still remained in my grandfather's tractor barn until the day he died. Waste not, want not. That's how I grew up. I was fortunate to grow up poor. My father and I would drive around the nice neighborhoods the day before trash day to go find treasures. They were mine for the taking. No different than those big pieces of industrial equipment digging into the earth every day, pulling aluminum and copper out of the earth. I dug through people's trash, originally to find bikes and skateboards and toys, and eventually it turned into lock sets, faucets, sinks, cast iron. Ooh, how non-ferrous metal gets me excited to this day. Not everybody is fortunate enough to grow up poor like me. Not everybody is fortunate to get laid off in 2008 and start driving around the same neighborhoods my great-grandfather drove around in 2009 as an unemployed combat veteran picking up appliances on the side of the road. How fortunate I am to live that way. Today, we're going to be going over the way that will move the mountains of the world with our words. I go all over the country speaking about the power of language, the language of leaders, the power that words matter. And today, I'll share with you how we can bring that message forward so the youth can continue to move forward. Know that my great-grandfather taught me, my grandfather taught me, and my father taught me the amazing waste and recycling world, the salvage and scrap business, the business that I love is something we can all fall in love with and teach others to fall in love with it also. Because without the youth, we have no future. Without the energy we put into today, we have no future. We have the opportunity here today to excite the youth to get into this industry, to talk about the recycling world instead of the waste world, to talk about the resources, not the waste. You said it best today. To waste is to steal. We're stealing from future generations with the choices we make today. And this is only a new problem, only in the last 100 years. Prior to the Great Depression, this is the way we lived. We are 100 years removed from a life where we did utilize what Mother Earth gave us. And there's our way we can fight back today, utilizing our words. Like I said, I go all over the country and talk about the power of words. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is his theory. So you thought and it reaps an action. So an act and you reap a habit. So a habit, you reap character. So a character and you reap destiny. This is the time of the year that we are sowing the fields. We are tilling the earth and planting the seeds, and this is what we will do today. 70,000 words a day are what we sow into our thoughts. Words come before thoughts. We use 7,000 words out loud, 70,000 words in our head. And when we decide to use the right words, when we convey the right message, people will follow. Today might get uncomfortable. Comfort, my friends, is the enemy of progress. P.T. Barnum said that. Today is all about progress. How do we move forward in this amazing recycling resource industry? How do we get rid of the word waste in zero waste? That's the journey we'll be taking on today. We're going to talk about science. Yes, we have people that are excited about science, and I am no different. How do we hack our brains into believing that we actually can do the things that we seek out to do? This is how our brain works. Without getting super sciencey, this is it. We have our big brain, our middle brain, and our lower brain. Our big brain is what we're going to focus on today. It's our clear, confident, creative brain. It's the one that takes the time to process information. The challenge is all too often we're operating out of that lower lizard brain, fight, flight, or freeze. We fear what will become instead of getting excited of what we can produce. I heard it from one of the young ladies today. Talk about the anxiety that the students are facing because the fear of the unknown. I heard you speak about it, the fear of growing up and breathing that air. How do we get excited about changing that within our communities? It's rooted in our language because we know when we change our words, we reap our destiny. This is it, ladies and gentlemen, when we communicate with others, when we communicate in this room, when you hear something over the next 2 days, run it through your big, clear, creative, confident brain versus this idea of scarcity and fear. And this isn't the language we use every day. We use language like this, whether it's the abundance versus scarcity mindset. That's a business term, right? Are we operating out of abundance or scarcity? We think more biblical. Are we operating out of love or are we operating out of hate? When we think about this society that's full of anxiety, right? Are we operating from a place of insecurity or of assurance? This, ladies and gentlemen, is a choice. It's a choice simply rooted in the language we choose to use to communicate the messages internally. And what we think internally is what we convey externally. It's the way we communicate with others. It's the way we get excited when we get up on stage. It's the way that we post to social media all the amazing things we are doing here today. It's the way that we educate each other. Because we know that when one person teaches, two people learn. This is your opportunity. Even the speakers today, I challenge you to rethink the way you utilize your words over the next 2 days, to come from a place of abundance. The earth gives us so much. Let's focus on all that we have, all that we can get, and bring others along with us. People want to follow winners and leaders. Let us be the winners today. Let us convey that message of what we can do versus what we can't do. What voices can be heard versus the voices that are often dismissed. Today is about becoming the victor of our story, no longer the victim of our circumstance. It's a choice. Which wolf we feed within us. And I'll give you those words today. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. He was a Hungarian POW. He spent his entire life studying happiness. A man who, from his earliest memories, was a Jewish POW in Nazi concentration camps, talked about happiness. He can do it, and so can we. His studies came out in the 1970s. Very simple, ladies and gentlemen. It's called the flow. How do we get our abilities to match our challenges we face every day? When we look at the chart here, it's very simple. We are a society, again, I talked about anxiety. The challenges are great. Saving the planet with 8 billion people and 8 billion different perspectives is a great challenge, is a noble challenge. You have a choice, ladies and gentlemen. Do you keep your abilities low with anxiety and stress? Or do you choose to change the way we convey our language? We get to a point of arousal. We're excited. Let's do this together. We increase our abilities so much that we get into the flow. We look forward to those conversations with the municipalities. We look forward to those conversations with our friends and family that say, the environment, who cares? Just dig another hole. It's not a big deal. I was fortunate. It was a big deal to me. From 5 years old, driving around the nice neighborhoods, to my 7th grade science fair project, working on recycling. This is what I do. I love this. I live this. I spent a year in Iraq watching the waste. I spent a year in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, studying desalination, studying incineration. I've been fortunate everywhere I've gone in this world, I've seen it. There's not a scrapyard I drive by that I don't want to visit. There ain't a dumpster I don't dive in. When I go for walks and people are doing renovations in their house, you bet I'm going in there to get me some copper number 1. It's going to happen, Jack. I get excited because I rose to the challenge to see the opportunity where other people have wasted it. To this day, I have a recycling business. Camel Crew Responsible Junk Removal. I have over 20 employees. Not a one of them gave two shits about the environment before they came in by my business. And now they all care. Now they see the opportunities even within their own communities. Everything we talk about today can be taught. We all have those embers inside of us. It's our opportunity here today to put the gasoline, the starter fluid, the lighter fluid onto those embers that are within the people, because all people want to come home to a clean environment. And how do we convey that message to others? This is a model I learned in the military. I was voluntold to go to master resiliency training. Now, I spent 10 years in the military before this. I was Billy Badass. I was a Mark 19 gunner and a 249 gunner. A Mark 19 is an automatic grenade launcher. A 249 is a squad assault weapon that shoots between 800 and 900 rounds a minute. For 10 years, I thought the most badass person I had to be was the best soldier I could be. I spent a year in Iraq to come back to realize I was a pacifist. I still remain in the military to this day. The last 10 years, I have focused on how do I lead from a place of empathy and understanding to become resilient among soldiers? How do I ensure that we have soldiers to protect our nation in a way where I no longer pick up a weapon? I learned this methodology there in master resiliency training. The first 30 minutes of this 80-hour course, I found out to ask for help is a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. This is our opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. What I learned in that model was very simple. Activating events. There are things that are going to happen near you. I knew that already. We had a plaque in my parents' house. It said, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% your attitude. That plaque still hangs in the hallways of my own house. My daughter and I see it often. Second thing, we have our thoughts. We have control over those. And finally, we have our consequences. Now, growing up, there was a lot of consequences and repercussions for my actions, as my mother will tell you. I found out in that course that I was not responsible for my consequences. I was responsible for my thoughts. I take that methodology. Dr. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. I take what Dr. Bill Crawford said, the slide I skipped on accident. That slide said there's only three things you have to do in this world. You have to be born, you have to die, and in between, you have to live. I knew I skipped a slide. I used this research from Dr. Bill Crawford in my book that I wrote about the power of language, how to retrain our brains to use language that serves you. Take the Army's methodology, activate an event. Take Dr. Bill's conscious versus unconscious brain. Talk about how Dr. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi talks about how we have a choice the way we see the world. We have a choice to increase our skill set. Put this in the same methodology the military taught me about the power of our thoughts and how they will drive our actions. This is my theory. It's very simple. We have activated events, things that happen near us. We have our brain. We can choose. Do we use our conscious, clear, creative brain to make conscious decisions and respond to situations? Or do we use our unconscious brain to react based on fear? This is our choice. This is our choice as we come on stage today. This is our choice as we go out into our communities. It comes down to the language. Before we get on stage, we use words like excited or words like anxious. Harvard Business Journal did a study in 2021 wherein they had random participants in the audience. Random participants come up on stage. Half the participants said, I'm excited before they came on stage. Half of them said, I am anxious. The ones that said, I am excited performed significantly better than those that said, I am anxious. I sat over there, I looked out to the window for a second there. I gave myself my affirmations, talking about how excited I was to come on stage. How excited are we to take on these opportunities within the waste and recycling world? This is what language looks like. This is the real words we use. When we talk about things in the past, we have a choice. Yes, the neutral world said, yes, it did happen near you. We had a choice, ladies and gentlemen. Did it happen to you because you are a victim? Did it happen for you so you can take the time to research air pollution? That's a choice, what gift you were given. There's things we need to do. Yes, there are obligations in the world. It's a choice, ladies and gentlemen. Do you have to do them? Or do we get to do them? Dr. Bill Crawford said there's only three things we have to do. We have to be born, we have to live, and we have to die. Everything else is a choice. We get to take on this fight. We talk about the future. That young lady said earlier. She said the students around her were anxious. We're all nervous. The exact same chemical composition that goes through your brain when you're nervous, whether you're excited or you're anxious, is the exact same thing. It's the same neural pathways. When I took the time to write my book, I wrote my book on neurolinguistics programming at a 5th grade reading level. This is as simple as it is. I have a daughter in 5th grade. She understands this methodology. No different than you can. We can use this methodology today. We can use this methodology moving forward in our communication on social media and publications. We can use this methodology when we are convincing people to get bought into what we are doing to save this planet. This is the way we do it. This is as simple as it is. There are things like waste, a neutral word. Okay, it's waste. Do we look at it as trash? Trash is a dirty word in my business. Trash assumes that everything is left and has no value. No, it's municipal solid waste. There is some material that, yes, will end up in a landfill. That is the reality. I accept that. How do I fight that every day? Well, I describe it very simple. When our guys are out there on job sites, guys that know nothing, we're in the junk removal industry. They're like, oh, it's garbage, it's trash. No. What type of material is it? We call it material, product, resource. How do we utilize the potential of that item that you have in your very hands? I grew up in the scrap industry, going to scrap yards. I still struggle at times using the word scrap yard. Because Saturday mornings going to the scrap yard, the smell of soda cans and beer cans, the sound of machinery, the sight of men working. Oh, yeah. That put hair on my chest as a 5-year-old. That got me excited. I would bring in my bounty from the week's worth of drive around the neighborhoods with my father. Typically only enough money to go to a 24-hour Greek diner and get breakfast, and man, did that sandwich taste great. No, it's the recycled material, recycled metal. How do we lean into this language? I work in junk removal. We call it clutter. How about unwanted items? They're unwanted to you, and yet someone else may want them. How do we bridge that gap? How do we get that material into somebody else's hand? And finally, garbage. That's the word we hear all the time. Oh, it's garbage. Well, it's refuge. That's what the SBA calls it, right? From a more government standpoint, refuge. No, it's recoverable material. How do we find the value in everything we interact with? It comes down to our language. It's very simple, ladies and gentlemen. We use words like excitement instead of anxiety, opportunity instead of problem, can instead of can't. The old fable of the grandfather and the grandson. The grandfather said there are two wolves inside of you, one of scarcity and hate, one full of love and abundance. And the grandson said to the grandfather, which wolf wins in this great battle? The one you feed. Feed those wolves inside you with your words. Feed the right wolf. Love both wolves. Love that wolf of hate. Love it. And yet feed the wolf of abundance and love. And when you do, we will all become the victor of this story versus the victim of our circumstance. Thank you.